Yo, 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 what's happening, everybody? It's your boy Bob Rock, and this is the B Rock RC Show, a live podcast for the drifters by a drifter. Welcome once again, everyone, uh, back to the podcast. I know it's been a while, but yeah, you know, work has been crazy, and I haven't been able to do the show as often as I usually do. But hey, we are here, we are live, we are doing it, and I'm glad you guys are joining in for today's episode. What is going on here? Please stop doing this. I've been having issues with my drive, but hopefully everything is sorted. What's up, Victor, and everybody else joining in? Thank you so much for joining in to the podcast. Um, and like I said, I know it's been a while, but really, really appreciate you guys joining in. And I know the reason why you guys are also joining in. And yes, that is the reason. We have the biggest thing to happen to RC drifting in 2024. Um, bar the regular stuff that we see from our more common and more popular RC manufacturers, we have the entry of RC drifting, or rather should I say, the entry into RC drifting by two of the biggest names in the RC game. Now, these two names haven't typically been associated with RC drifting, as many of you guys know, and they have been around for a very, very long time. So they are well-established RC brands. Yeah, even if you don't own a car, you would have known about the brand, and that is Traxxas and Team Associated. So two very, very strong brands with decades of RC experience in many different RC categories. So, which brings me to the next point. Now, the news has obviously been around, of course, we all know. Hey, I try, Victor, I try, you know. Yeah, so RC drifting has isn't as old as the other manufacturers or the other categories out there. So it hasn't um, had that establishment like the other, like your general RC categories, on-road racing, off-road, buggies, trucks, etc., etc. So it's very, very interesting to see that these two manufacturers have, uh, for the lack of a better word, finally come on board into the drifting scene. Now, here's the thing. As soon as they launched or they revealed their intentions for producing an RC drift car, um, what we've seen is that it's actually split the opinions of the RC drifting community. So, on one side, you have people who are saying that, look, it's it's cool that they coming out with the drift car, but it's what they're producing is just it's not enough. It doesn't. It's subpar. It's not meeting uh, the criteria, or it's not meeting it's not meeting the standard that we've come to expect from RC drift cars. Because as you all know, with RC drift cars, the uh, the progression and the advancement of the technology and the improvement on drift technology has happened so rapidly over the past few years. It's quite astonishing. So to see these two established brands coming in at this point is very, very interesting. Just quickly want to give a quick shout out to all the guys in the comments there. Tommy Lee, Victor, Martin, thank you guys for joining in. To the guys that just joined in, thank you so much for joining in into the latest episode of the B Rock RC Show, a live podcast for the drifters by a drifter. We are discussing two established brands that have just launched drifting products for and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the first time that they are actually diving into the RC drift scene. So, like I was saying, the more established RC drifting tech has improved so rapidly over the past few years. It's amazing. And now these two well-established, well-known brands have come on board with their iterations of RC drift chassis. And it split the community. You have on one side people saying that, oh no, it looks okay, it is what it is, but it's going to be detrimental for the drift community. Then on the other side, you have uh, those who are saying, look, let's look at the bigger picture of what they're trying to do. Because they are so established and many people know these brands and they stand by these brands, now with them introducing these RC drift products, it's gonna invite more people into the RC drifting side of things. So, what are your opinions? What is the overall opinion? Um, on my side, for me personally, I'm actually a little torn apart. Oh, I won't say torn apart. I'm feeling like I'm pulled in both directions, to be honest. The thing is, and here's the reason why. There's one part of me that, and I've mentioned it so many times on the podcast, where I've always been an advocate for encourage, don't discourage. Let's look at the positive side of things so that we can get more people into the hobby than push them away. But I'm also on the other side where I look at some of these products and I'm like, guys, really, what are we doing? Uh, is it really going to be for the better? So I've been thinking about it for a little while, for a few days, and then reading the comments. And there's been some really, really good comments. There's been some really awful comments. And perhaps a little bit later, I'll go through some of the comments. Um, quickly, let's just see. Victor says, honestly, I wasn't impressed at first from the AE, which is team associated. But then I saw the price. You're basically getting a carbon and fully adjustable RDX slash YD2 mix for $300. So that's very good. And about the tractors, Traxxas already said that it is an opportunity because RC Drift is acknowledged by a major RC company. So very good points made by Victor, and his points are one of the comments that I've read on the other groups where I've made this post about what on earth is going on. Now that can be looked at in a positive and a negative way when I pose that question, as in what on earth is going on. So I think Victor made a very, very good logical point and something that has to be noted and has to be acknowledged whether we like it or not. Traxxas, yes, is a massive RC company, whether we like it or not, whether you like the practices or not. And yes, under recent times they've come under under scrutiny. They've come under fire for some of their dealings. But be that as it may, whether you support them or not, that what Victor mentioned is an undeniable fact that it is a major RC company, and RC drifting is being acknowledged by them. On the other side of that coin, though, on the other side of that point, uh, do we then say that a company like Yokomo isn't major? Yokomo is also an extremely well-established brand, and they've acknowledged RC drifting for years now. Ever since, I would say, uh, sure. And this I'm talking just with regards to rear-wheel drive, right? So they produced the YD2 came out in 2016. They must have taken at least a year or two of R&D before releasing that. So that will make it about 2014, 2015 when it was acknowledged. And then they produced the YD2, which absolutely revolutionized RC drifting forever, in my opinion. And they're a major company. So I believe that it was all a business decision. Maybe what's happened was that Traxxas and Team Associated have seen that, you know what is this thing called RC drifting? And it looks quite major because let's dive a little bit into it. And as they went into it, they realized that there's actually a massive company. I mean, there's a massive community of RC drifters there that is basically untapped uh, uh, yeah, untapped market for Traxxas and Team Associated. So now that they've seen it, they're like, hey, you know what? Let's get on that. Let's see what we can do. Now, this is just my observation and speculation. So that's why I think they've jumped onto the bandwagon to see. Let's see how well we can do in the RC drifting community. Um, what was it? Was it Traxxas or Team Associated? I think it's Traxxas that they've introduced some really interesting and some very nifty technology into the chassis with the TSM, which I still don't know exactly what it's all about. But this TSM feature, from what I understand, is that it's um, it's basically an electronic aid to help with drifting, which can be adjusted more or less depending on your skill level. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Okay, let's see. Victor says, I would say Yokomo is also very big, but maybe more spread for people who are already a little more into RC, at least in my country. Yeah, that makes sense. The people who have only little contact with RC and maybe shop their RC cars only on Walmart or electronic stores, not hobby stores, usually only know Traxxas or Tamiya. That is also very, very true. So that kind of makes sense as well. Yes, I would tend to agree with that. And I think let's face it, the US market is one of the biggest consumer markets, if not the biggest consumer market in the world. So, granted that the RC industry in the US is massive, and yes, brands like Traxxas and Team Associate are very big there because they have such a strong foothold in the US market. So not as strong as Yokomo. And like you said, the more they got into RC, the more people learned about Yokomo and what they could do as well. But I would tend to agree with you. Yeah, Traxxas is so massive. Like here in SA, the older brands like yes, like Team Associated, Tamiya, HPI, uh, perhaps Traxxas to some extent, but not as big as HPI uh, and Tamiya. They and a little bit of Yokompo. They were very big in SA back in the day. Let's see, in my country, a few years there was a big electronics store. These stores don't have Yokomo, MSC, but they had Traxxas bashers. For drift, I would have to go to internet or specialized hobby store. Yeah, yeah. I hear you. I completely hear you. So, yeah, that's the situation. So that's a little bit going into uh, Traxxas and Team associated with the iterations of a rear-wheel drive comp-ready drift chassis. Now, how well are those chassis going to perform? We will only know once we actually buy them and try them out. Yes, I'm sure we've seen a few of the videos, and many of us picked up the little, I don't want to say errors, but we found some discrepancy. I can't find the slang words to use, but we found these little things about the car that wasn't running too well. We could see it wasn't exactly 100% set up. It looked a little bit, I don't want to say sketchy, but it looked a little bit untuned. So that could either mean that the car is bad. I mean, there's so many things that could be wrong when we look at those that videos, those shakedown videos. One is the driver may not have been as well experienced uh, as they could have gotten to show off the car. Two is the car, the driver was good, but the chassis is actually bad. Three is it wasn't tuned properly. And the reason it wasn't tuned properly is because the the driver that they got just didn't have enough time to actually sit and tune it properly so that they could show off the best or the maximum potential of the chassis as possible. Hey, what's up, Wolf? Thank you so much for joining in, brother. Really appreciate it. So you see, there's so many things that we could pick up from that. However, it is what it is. They put it out. The DC-10 looks quite decent. When you look at the chassis, you'll be reminded of other common chassis that we come about, or that we've seen, or we even perhaps have in our possession. So I think with that we can see some of the potential in there. So that might make a better drift chassis than the Traxxas. Who knows? Only until we receive uh, until people start drifting with it, then we can make better assumptions of it. DC-10 is more promising than the Traxxas, says Wolf. Uh, yeah, look, personally, just on face value, just by looking at it, I would say yes, I would agree with you that yeah, it does look more promising. It does look as though it would have more potential uh, than the Fortec. However, the Fortec is including some really nice electronic features in there. That's definitely going to help the beginners uh, get on the track a little bit better. Now, here's the kicker, and here's the question that I'm posing to you all, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. If we have beginners coming in with the DC-10 or the Fortec coming in to your track, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna turn them away, or are you gonna give them a negative experience? Are you gonna trash talk them about the chassis, or are you gonna invite them to work with what they have whilst showing them the potential, or showing them what they could be doing with something that's a little bit uh, more technically sound? What are you going to do? I'm slaying them all. Victor. uh, and then Victor Ding says, it would be interesting if this is out of the box performance, and how much experience did the drivers did their drivers have? And it does not mean that they hired a noob driver. Yes, I agree. Um, the electronics will destroy the driving style by acting too much. Yeah. In our track, all drivers are welcome, but this is general rule. We also don't ban all-wheel drive. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Uh, it's all good, bro. It's all good. On our track, they'll still welcome. Right. I am very happy to hear that a few of you guys will be accepting them at your track. Let's face it, most of the tracks these days, the rule is no all-wheel drive or no CS, because it's dead, right? So these cars are rear-wheel drive, so you can't say that they are flouting the rules, and they are coming in as beginners. And I guarantee you, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get somebody that's going to come in and say, "Hey guys, you know what? I've just purchased the Traxxas 4Tech, and what are the tracks close by me? Can I come and throw down?" Um, Now, the thing is, this is a completely new guy. You have to treat him with kid gloves. And I don't mean that as an insult, because he's a completely new guy. Now you're gonna do your duty. You are now obligated to have that guy. And when I say obligated, I mean that because you are in the RC game for a little while now. Anyone that's been in the RC game for 2 or 3 years, I'd say even from a year plus. No, let's be a little bit more strict. I'd say 2 years plus. If you are in the RC game for 2 years plus, you are now considered a little bit of a senior, and therefore, as a senior RC drifter, I'm telling you, you are obligated to help the new guy, because you were once the new guy. And at a point, you needed help with something or the other, be it setup, be it advice, whatever it is. So, and I've mentioned this many times on different episodes of my podcast. We need to take care of the new people, of the newbies that are coming into the hobby, so that we ensure that this hobby has longevity. We ensure that the hobby remains active and remains a good space for everybody to come and join in. Yes, we unfortunately there are some pretty arrogant people out there that are saying all sorts of nonsense. And if they come across the guys who are drifting with these chassis, they're gonna just trash talk them, which is unnecessary. We are at a point where we are finally seeing some sort of stability in the RC drifting community, and we're starting to slowly see there's a bit of growth in RC drifting. Now, because it's Traxxas and Team Associated, and they're coming out and they're launching their versions of drift chassis, now you want to trash talk them. I think uh, that is unnecessary. It's not needed in it's not needed in the RC drifting community. We don't need this. We don't need people like this. At the same time, whilst we don't need people like this, the only way to overcome these kinds of people is by speaking to them in a calm manner, in a way that opens up their mind. Because right now they are closed-minded, they are playing ignorant, they are forgetting that at one stage they knew nothing about RC drifting and someone helped them along the way. Um, at, and again, like I said, this whole thing has divided me where I can understand from both sides, from people wanting to grow the hobby, but also people who are more want to be more of purists, if I had to put it in inverted commas, you know, uh, that saying, oh no, why are the truth is, I'm leaning more towards like let's go, let's get them in, and let's see what these cars are about. I'm leaning more towards that. It's like a 80-20 kind of thing with me. I'm really happy that these established brands have finally come on board and are finally recognizing RC drifting, just as Victor Ding says. And there was so many comments. There was somebody that made a comment, and I can't remember whether it was Victor or somebody else, but he mentioned that um, most people still don't know about RC drifting, which is the truth. A lot of people still don't know what RC drifting is, and when we do demos and exhibitions, people are amazed. They're like, "Wow, I didn't know you get RC cars that can do that." The point I was trying to make is, and a slightly lost train of thought, was that um, these established, yes, most people also, even though they don't know about RC drifting, but they know Traxxas or they know Team Associated. And now that these two brands are saying that, hey guys, look, this is our latest chassis. It's a drift chassis. If you don't know what it's about, here's our little presentation video of what it looks like. And a lot more people know about Formula Drift. So now they recognize, oh, Formula Drift, wow, okay, we can do that with RC cars also. And by the way, here is our chassis. So it's a really, you know, without us realizing, they are actually marketing RC drifting for us where we don't need to do that. So we need to also perhaps take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Daryl Peak, how you doing, mate? I do agree the DC-10 will be better, or maybe the next stage after Fortec, maybe. We at our track will always advise Yoko Rovdi as a starting point. Parts are easy to get hold of, and we know the work. I agree with you. Um, I completely understand where you're coming from, and that's the case with most drift tracks around the world, and that's the truth. Because we have the established brands, the established drift brands like Yokomo, Verdi, MST, and then your aftermarket manufacturers like Team Jordan, Team AD, and then you've got like Rhino Racing, etc., etc. Yes, we know because we experience, we know what to suggest, and we know why we are suggesting it. But we have, the thing is, we have to also sort of play into the hands. And by that, I mean, because these chassis are available and you have people who are sometimes brand loyal, they're going to go with this chassis and they're going to bring it in. So it's an opportunity to sort of hook them in, keep them in the hobby, whilst advising them, hey, you know what, you're doing really well. Next level up for you is Yokomo, or next level up for you is MST or RevD or etc. You never know, maybe, and almost guaranteed, and I think all of you guys know that once these chassis come into the hands, we're gonna see people putting in Yoko parts, RevD parts, etc., etc. Um, the guy behind Scale Dynasty, I'm so sorry. can't remember your name. I just know you're Scale Dynasty. He's been doing some videos on TikTok about the DC-10, and one of the things he mentioned was that with the DC-10, the gearing and the gearbox is very similar to the Yokomo, almost exactly. And he mentioned a really good point that he most likely you'd be able to put in a CLSD in there. So, but remember, these chassis that Traxxas and Team Associated are bringing out are aimed at the beginners, are aimed at getting people into the hobby. The one chassis we can see between the two has potential to hold on to them much longer. You can see that there's potential, or that the company has designed it in such a way that you can almost foresee them producing upgrade parts, which would look a lot more familiar to us than the other. Let's go back to the comments. Victor says, the thing is, the noob driver would also be bad even if he had an RDX. Agreed, 100%. You have to be patient with him and show him how to drive, teach him the basics. 100%, totally agree with you. Short decent, thanks so much, my man. Well, but if you like, I can bring some OMG stuff to South Africa. I'll be near Joburg soon, dude. That is awesome. You please do it, bro. We'll make a plan and we'll try and meet up with you, Ricky. Thanks so much for joining in, bro. Appreciate you, man. Come to me. Let's. Yes, it was me. Yes, yes. Thank you, Victor. Sorry, I'm going back on the comments here. Just be patient. Hopefully, you're patient with me. Gareth, how you doing, mate? Thanks so much for joining. And yeah, good to see you in the comments as well, buddy. Really appreciate it. Exactly. Formula Drift is a good point, as many people recognize it too. Yes. You're enjoying the RC Drift Championship, as in the RCD, the UK Championship. Yes, very much so. You guys are they're doing a really good job there. Victor says, in my country, Austria, it is still easier to get Traxxas or Tamiya than RevD. We don't have a single real shop who have these, and the only Austrian internet shop is basically MST only. RevD is bought in Germany. Whoa, okay. You guys also have it a wee bit tough, no? Again, say we have people recently that have moved away from racing to drifting, and people that recognize the brand will see the drifting more. Yep. Christopher, nice to see you, mate. I plan on getting the DC-10. Okay, cool. So we definitely can see which way people are going. It seems that the DC-10 um, is leading the way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put up a poll. Which do you think, in your opinion, would be better? Would it be the DC-10 or the Fortec? And if you guys don't mind, get the voting. I don't know if you guys gonna see the poll, but if you do, it's there. Yeah, homies. So if you guys see the poll, go for it. I don't know whether the poll is up there or not, but if it is, yeah, go. Let me know if you can see the poll. I'm not even sure really. Oh well. Anyway, you can still comment. Which do you think is better, the DC-10 or the Fortec? What is going on? Is the sorry. Seem to be having some technical difficulties. Okay, anyway. So yeah, guys. That's the latest that's going on. Fortech versus DC-10 versus the rest of the world. What is happening? Who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be the DC-10 or the Fortec? Let's see. Crystal Steel. I don't see a poll, but I'm going for the DC-10. Yeah, sorry, I'm not even sure what happened there. Um, and I don't know what's going on. Ever since I tried doing the silly bloody poll, it seems that my something is not functioning. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. Let's just keep going. I don't think but I'm going for the DC-10. It's more dedicated to the hobby than the Traxxas is. Definitely for outside. No, for even play. Yeah. Um, I think they both have an appeal to themselves in its own way. And the thing is, uh, like I said much earlier in the podcast, is that the DC-10 looks a lot more familiar to us because of its layout and its design. It looks like a lot more familiar in terms of a drift chassis. The Fortec looks quite different, but the the electronic aids that it's coming with is really, really interesting to see. And it's definitely something that's going to appeal to the beginners, the intermediates, not so much the advanced drifters, because as advanced drifters, we prefer to fine tune our chassis to suit exactly our driving style because we've been around for a little while. We know we've developed our own driving style, our own drifting style. We know what we want to get out of our cars, so we know what we would like and what we would not like. And I think that for the advanced drifters, those electronic aids and guides that Traxxas have developed might not be the best thing for the advanced, but the beginners and the intermediates, definitely I can see it really, really helping the drifters. Phil Crawford said he is getting the Traxxas. We'll battle it out between the two at Super G, I'm sure. Well, Super G seems to be the place. Well, the DC-10 will obviously be better since it's a more dedicated chassis. I think, however, the Traxxas will be even more impactful for the scene because Traxxas is a well-known brand. At this point, the product itself doesn't even matter that much, but more the effect on the audience. Right, you've made a very, very important comment there, and one which I'm going to expand on. So, Victor's last point in his comment was that at this point, the product itself doesn't even matter that much, but more the effect on the audience. Now, that is where I think the community is going to be split even more. Do we take a stand and because if that is the kind of perspective that we are looking at with RC drifting, that can negatively impact the quality of RC drifting out there. And I think that's one of the things that people are concerned about, even though they weren't able to articulate it, because that's kind of what they're feeling. That sure, these guys producing or have produced an RC drift chassis, but are they just doing it just for the sake of RC drifting, just to put something out there, or have they really put in R&D and thought into what they are producing? So it's like saying let's take the HSP Flying Fish or a Tamiya TT01 and let's turn it into a drift car, if you get what I'm saying. Now we know I know the comment is going to come up, so I'm going to say it before you guys come up. The TT01 can become something, and we know the reason why it can become something is because of the MRC conversion kit. But you have to get an entire conversion kit to make it something, you know? And even then, people who get that conversion kit and roll with the TT01 do it more for the fun. So again, you gotta separate these things. Are you there? Are you more for cop or are you more for social? Or are you there for both? What kind of a drifter are you? Are you somebody that enjoys both? Are you somebody that just enjoys comp? Are you somebody that just enjoys social? There's so many variables in there. What about HSP getting back in the game with Angular drift better than any other model? Dude, I don't even want to go into that from Betty Hopkins. Once again, just a reminder, thank you all so much for joining into another episode of the B-Rock RC Show, a live podcast for the drifters by a drifter. I'm your host with the most, as you know, Bob Rock, and where we talk about anything and everything dealing with the world of RC drifting. If I could ask you guys, and I know I haven't asked you guys earlier, please if you could share the live so we get in more people to come in and join the conversation. So ultimately, I think it's a good thing that these well-established brands, and I agree with Victor when he said that it's good that these well-established brands have come out with RC drifting chassis, because there are many people who don't know RC drifting, but they know the brand and are brand loyal. So by virtue of them introducing these RC drift chassis, we have a good chance of actually growing the community without us actually having to do anything, because these big brands are going to market their drift chassis, and by that it's going to grow the hobby. Yes, there's going to be positives and negatives coming out of there, but we as a community, we as a brotherhood, we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look at RC drifting as a whole, as how long can we keep this running and how many more people can we introduce into RC drifting. As you know, unfortunately, we don't have a world championship anymore, which is like one of the saddest things ever. I'm actually very lucky that I was part of the last world championship, and believe me when I say that everyone who's an RC drifter needs to experience the World Championship at least once. Yes, it's like the highest level of RC drifting that you will experience, but it's the it's really the best thing that you will ever do. Even if you don't place, your skill level of RC drifting will be elevated so much, you will be shocked. You will actually surprise yourself. Join Clash of the Titans. Dude, if I had the money, I would totally come for Clash of the Titans. Um, the thing with what makes an RC drift better is an interesting point. Maybe even worth discussing in its own podcast. You know what? You know what? Just give me 1 minute, Mr. Victor Dean. So here, this is my book of podcasts. So ever since I started podcasting, I've planned out every single episode that I've done. It's all in here. And now that you mention it, I will put that down as the next topic. Where did you write it? What what makes RC drift better? Now, when you say what makes RC drift better, are you talking about RC drifting compared to on-road racing, bashing, and all this other stuff? Is that what you mean? But I totally agree with you. It's going to make for a very interesting topic. Let's see. I mean, when you look at what comp final look like, what would you do to make it better? Oh, okay. I think it'll be interesting how another company with no drift experience tackle the challenge to make drifting better. Like an interesting solution for the electronics. You make a very good point. We are so used to seeing what we see now from MST, Yokomo, Rivd, and the other brands, Sakura, uh, I mean, 3 Racing, sorry. We're so used to seeing what they produce that we almost can, like, if they produce anything, we're like, it's kind of expected. So having somebody completely new coming into the game, um, definitely has a potential to shake it up, to shake things up. And it might be a good thing because now these other brands are going to be like, whoa, okay, these guys are coming into the game. What are they coming with? They're like, oh shoot, look at these features that they have in their designs. So we haven't thought of that, or they have a fresh new idea because they have a completely new and sort of unbiased look, unbiased perspective on RC drifting because they're coming from nowhere. And when I say nowhere, I mean coming from no drift experience. So they may have ideas that, we haven't thought of. Tech One says TDC Worlds will be the closest. Um, Actually, you make a good point. And perhaps I should take my words back about there not being a world championship. So when you look at, if we digress a little bit, and we look at TDC over the years, they've just been growing and growing. And I think in the East, TDC has to be probably the biggest championship that's out there that's attracting the most number of competitors, at least in my opinion and from what I've seen. And I think from last year or from this year, I see that they've opened it up to, I mean, they've always opened up to international drifters, but now I see that they're having TDC qualifications like in other parts of the world, which is very, very cool. And if we can take it a bit further, RCDC, as you all know, is like the premium, most illustrious RC drift competition out in Japan. And for many, many years, it was restricted only to those in Japan. However, this year they've opened it up to international drifters as well. So that's interesting to that's an interesting point to note that um, what I was going to say. Well, does this mean it could mean two things? Well, and I'm going to look at it from both sides. So it could mean that uh, Japan is finally recognizing that the potential of international drivers is like, and the quality of drifting outside of Japan is just as good, if not better. Um, and it could also mean that RC drifting is slowly dying off in Japan, and so they want to get in international drifters to somehow revive things. So either way, whatever the reasoning is, I think it's fantastic that they're introducing international drifters finally into RCDC. I mean, if they, oh, hello, who was that? Keegan, my man, thank you so much for the stars. Really, really appreciate it, brother. It's you didn't need to at all, bro. You really didn't. But it's very, very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Um, hey, Salam Yasin. Hope you're doing well. Yes, RCDC is a good one. So, like I was saying, RCDC, they have international judges. I mean, James Simpson is one. Um, Caveman is another. Michelle, he's another judge. So if they can have international judges, then I'm sure they don't mind having international judges. But now that's the digression. We have digressed, and now we are coming back to the most important part of or the most important topic, or what this episode is all about, is about what on earth is going on with Traxxas and Team Associated finally joining in the RC Drift game. It took them a while, but hey, they are here, and who knows, maybe their point of entry at this time of RC drifting is the one thing we didn't know that we needed. Let's see, Victor says, from what I understand, Traxxas' way to tackle the RC Drift challenge is to provide a full package with their software, which is what they've done. And while the Traxxas is, of course, aimed at beginners, this idea could be taken from other brands and maybe introduce a solution for us enthusiasts. Yeah, that's exactly what I've been mentioning as well. So because they are newcomers to RC drifting, they come with an unbiased, completely new and fresh perspective into perhaps what they think RC drifting could be or not necessarily should be, and knowing what they know, having their experience in the RC game for so many years, and with the technology that they have developed on their own and whatnot, they saw a way of reintroducing their software into a different RC package that's still appealing, that still may be appealing to drifters, and most especially the beginners. So I think we all can agree on one thing, that these chassis are aimed at the beginners. Uh, Beginners to perhaps intermediates, can we say? Can we agree on that? It's aimed at beginners to intermediates. They both seem like they might perform okay. The DC-10 looks like it may have more potential than the Traxxas, but the Traxxas electronic backing is far better than the Team Associated. And in fact, I would say there's some of the aids, the driving aids on the Traxxas could help people with their YT2s and the MSTs. So, yeah, it's a toss-up. Now, the next point that's going to be critical is the price point. What price is it coming in at? So I think that's another point of contention with a lot of RC drifters at the moment. If it's coming in at $300-400, they're saying, why pay $300-400 for a new drift chassis that hasn't been fully realized? And I'm using the term loosely. Why are you paying that amount for a chassis like that when you could put in that same amount into a proper drift chassis? The thing is, like we've said before, people tend to be brand loyal. So, and then there's going to be people who are completely new, and you know what? They trust the brand because they've been with the brand for so many years, and we've seen it happening. A lot of people who've been in racing or bashing, looking for something new, come into the drift scene. They want to try something new. So here they're seeing that, hey, here's a brand that I love, that I trust, that's now producing a drift chassis. Oh my God, they've read my mind. I trust these people. I'm gonna go with it. You know. So you can't really blame people for that. Jordan, hey, what's up, Jordan? How you doing, my man? How you doing? Look, I haven't forgotten about you, bro. We still on it. We gonna work through it. 329 US for the RTR Traxxas and 300 for the associated kit. Okay, so for the Team Associate kit, it's just a kit and not an RTR. So, okay, so there's a point that's going to affect how many people and depending which chassis people buy. I think 330 US for an RTR drift chassis, and we're not looking at Traxxas, we're not looking at brand. I think 329 for an RTR drift chassis is actually quite reasonable. Let me just check something quickly here. Let's compare it to something that I know. You know what? That's actually pretty decent. So when I converted it into South African rands, so that I understand, so that I have a better idea, it's actually quite decent for an RTR. For an RTR, it's amazing. Thanks so much, Jordan. That bro, that really means a lot, man. I'm quite excited to be back doing this episode. It's been a while. It's a really good escape for me, given this last little while work has been like extremely busy. So yeah, but I think it's a great topic. It's something that uh, isn't just out there for me to talk about, but I think it's something that we need to talk about in the drifting brotherhood at the moment. Just given so much of conversation that's been had about it already, I think it's important that we need to continue having these civil conversations and look at it at all points so that we are able to understand things better. You know, it's fine if we dislike something, but we need to understand why we're disliking something because we can't just dislike it for no reason. There has to be a reason why you dislike it. So when we have the conversation about, okay, what it is exactly about something that you dislike or you don't agree with, and we open up the whole topic, we unravel everything, and then we understand each other's perspective. And if after that you still dislike it, it's like it's all good. I get your perspective, I understand you, and we good. We can disagree and still be great friends. uh Matthew Top Guns, biggest thing is a decent radio. If someone uh brought out a cheap kit like a D5 or bought out a cheap kit like a D5 but had a radio equivalent to say Sanwa MT5, that would be epic. All the kits with cheap radios that don't have the technology and let it down. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. Team Associates come with a few aluminum parts and CF decks. Yeah, you see, so there's a bit of trade-off there. And I did read about it and I did see that. So there's a bit of trade-off. So the Team Associated comes with with items that we basically would buy as an upgrade. So it's not that the graphite plastic compound. It's coming with the carbon fiber decks and aluminum parts, just as you said. Then we have Traxxas, who's coming out with the RTR kit that's full plastic, and that for me, there's only two chassis that's really awesome, straight out the box like that, and that's the Yoko and the MST with the plastic fantastic. We know the story behind it. Uh, so yeah, so like I said, so both these chassis have positives and negatives going for it. Let's see, Jordan says it's the cheapest on the market for rear wheel drive. Case in point, Traxxas RTR at 330. What are you gonna do? Who are you going to? Which newbie are you going to convince to spend more for a rear wheel drive kit, whereas they can go and buy an RTR kit for 330 and from there do what they will? Victor says, in this regard, we must not forget that the chassis itself, especially in recent years with RAs being so cheap, is only the smallest investment. Correct. Electronics equipment will eat up much more, even for the cheap chassis with everything will end up. Correct. And this is a steep amount for a complete no, 100%. 399 MST and Red Cat. Yeah, exactly. Traxxas is all plastic. Red Cat occasionally runs for sale 299 RCR, but look, that's like on a special. That's like when you're having a sale. Uh, but Traxxas is brushed, which is around Yoko brushed prices. So then it's it's in the market range. So clearly they have done their research and they've compared it and they say, okay, we come in at X amount, we able to do this. So I think the Traxxas with 330 and it somehow works, which may or may not be comp ready, but a little wobbly, but the video doesn't look bad. Is a decent and good start. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, Tech One says it's pretty cool seeing two big companies take interest in RC drifting. It's a good thing for the community. 100%. That's exactly what we've been saying earlier in the podcast as well. I think you get a lot more chassis with AE, yes, but Traxxas is a marketing giant. They will put these cars in front of so many new markets. Yes, exactly, 100%. Uh, Hey, Stefano, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining in. Jordan says, feeling like I've seen a lot coming into the hobby at the tail end of CS, being a competitive force, and seeing now, I feel a lot of disappointment felt in the diff community. Is the Traxxas chassis just felt like they didn't bring anything new to the table, say, besides the price? AE had done a bit more homework, done an adjustability, like they are aiming for the more comp market. Still, both are great signs that sales figures exist enough for them to dip a foot into the market. Yeah, I think so as well. I think that they have, and we've said this earlier in the podcast, they have recognized that the RC drifting brotherhood or the RC drifting market is an untapped market for them and one that is worth exploring. Hence, they are going in that route and it's very and like you said, I mean, I couldn't have put it better myself. It's really good for the community. I'm still 80-20 on it. Okay, perhaps 90-10 now after we've had the conversation. um, I still feel like uh, there is some ways that they need to go, but at the same time, you know, if they had to start off somewhere, is most of the drift manufacturers had to start off somewhere. Stefano says, I think they will bring many new people to the drift scene. Some will get on board and will continue from there. I think this is a very good thing. Yeah, exactly. Uh, hey, aloha, Zachary. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you in the comments there. Thank you so much for joining in. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate every single one of you for joining in today's episode. I hope that you guys are really enjoying the episode. I think it's we're having a great conversation about this. Something like Tamiya TT01 years ago, Traxxas will be in so many shops where we don't see any drift chassis today. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you know, uh, like Jordan has mentioned, Traxxas is a big marketing machine. They know marketing, um, and how you know that is even a nobody involved in RC in the RC game at all has heard or knows of Traxxas, or they know the logo. They've seen it somewhere. They've seen it in real drag cars or wherever. So they know marketing. So the fact that they're getting into RC drifting, and because at the end of the day, it's a business and they're putting out products there to make money, which means they got to market it, which means that um, uh, piggybacking off their own product, RC drifting as a whole gets marketed, which means more people will get to know about RC drifting, which means the community grows, which means more people get involved, which means the lifespan of RC drifting, grows. Victor says, aside from the marketing point, I'm curious how the electronics work on the Traxxas and if it has an impact of making the car easily drivable. You can buy a $399 MST RTR, but it will drive bad because the electronics is bad. At this point, RTR has this bad image of throwaway after you buy. I'm curious if the Traxxas approach is more different. Um, that's a very good point. We, and again, we can't really say until we have it in our hands, um, until we have, um, and this is going to sound a bit snobby, but we won't really know until we have one of our people test out the car, like one of our well-established, well-known drifters try out the car and like do everything they can to maximize the performance of the chassis and see what it can do, and then hit us up with a review. You know, let's say hit or miss, in my opinion. I've yet to meet any RTR that I prefer the electronics in. Yeah, let's be honest. Most of the chassis that come with the RTR electronics, and I'm talking about drift chassis, they are not up to scratch. And we know the reason for that is because at some point the manufacturer has to, reduce the production cost and to increase profit. So if they skimp a little bit on electronics, it's kind of a gimmick. If they skimp a little bit on the quality of the electronics, by the time you realize it, you're already so hooked into RC drifting that you need better electronics. Then you're going to go back, okay, give me that RPX2 or that Hobby Wing, etc., or that AccuOnes. They know you're going to go for the better. I think it'll be more so like it works, but won't have the refinement that one generally searches for. Uh, Sorry, I was reading that. Searches for with upgraded electronics. Traxxas and AE, that was from Jordan. Zach says, Traxxas and AE are well known, whether good or bad, it brings attention to them. Exactly. 100%. 100%. Mm-hmm. Okay. When I'm done with the podcast, I'm gonna check this link out you sent to me, bro. Let's see. For example, crawling. I have board the first. You start, it just works. While crawling, it is recommended also. Yes, yes, 100%. And this is exactly what I was saying. Like, but aimed at specifically at RC drifting because all I've ever known was RC drifting, uh, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have dabbled in other forms of RC. So my only point of reference and point of comparison is other drift stuff. Uh, oh, here's a prototype when I drove it back in Jan. My teammate was chasing me with his gun. Wow. Okay, so you are one, you are one of the drivers. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I would love to have more of the tuning knowledge hidden in the AE race community, and really hope that comes to the table with the chassis. Yeah. Um. Again, and I suppose same with Traxxas. Um. Yeah, hopefully they include or hopefully we will be able to see the years of experience in the chassis. Yes, it's not drifting, but uh, they have so many years of experience in the RC game that that's what we would like to see. I'm sure a lot of us would like to see that very same knowledge and experience in those chassis. So, guys, um, ultimately, here's my stance. I'm 90% for these chassis, 10% not against it, but the 10% is I'm not too convinced about it. I would uh, I would gladly drive one of them, and I will do my best to enjoy them, but I don't see myself owning one of them just yet, simply because I have other chassis in mind that I would like to get and have in my collection. Uh, but it's not a complete no for this chassis. Let's see. Victor says, of course, for enthusiasts, none of the electronics will be good enough, but for a beginner, maybe it will be enough. Yes. Let's see. They changed a few things from the prototype. Production version has more adjustments. Okay, cool. That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. It's an and bro, thank you so much for joining and giving us a little tidbits about this chassis. Appreciate you sharing some of the comments there. Jordan says just information in general. Racing doesn't necessarily promote sharing your setups and tunes so eagerly like drifting has. 100%. I've had so many people comment how refreshing it is to have a helpful community first, more than a competitive community. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I've said that from the beginning, and I'm in drifting for about 8, almost 9 years now. So, um, and I've heard the same comment as well from people who have done other forms of RC, like racing. I've had comments like that from people who've done flying to say that uh, you guys are so cool with sharing information and sharing setups and helping out, and here's a part, or come, I'll fix this for you, or I'll tune this for you, or look at your car and say, hey, your car is not running right here, let's have a look. I've experienced that myself, where uh, I've gone up against competitors in a comp, and before that, I've had my opponents helping sort my chassis out, and that's that's completely unheard of in almost any form of competition. So um, to think that So I think that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I read something that he posted, Tech One posted, and I lost my train of thought. So what I was going to say is that we must remember, as a drifting brotherhood, why we are more known as a brotherhood than a community. It's because we are so ready to share information and share our knowledge and share whatever we have, even with the person we are battling, just so that we know we're going up against somebody whose chassis is running 100%, or who's completely in the zone, as opposed to knowing somebody is not running 100% and they still going into a competition. I don't think we've experienced that happens anywhere else. Um, so Techron says there's already a few AE sponsored races trying out RC50 for the first time. Pretty cool. There we go. No, it's cool, bro. It's totally cool. No worries. Um, yeah, I think it's amazing. And you see, this is why I also do the podcast. This is one of the reasons why I do the podcast, is to try and convince the naysayers within our drifting brotherhood. And I prefer to call it a brotherhood, but that's a topic for another day. One of the reasons why I do this podcast is uh, helping people understand each other's perspective, because only when we understand each other are we able to come together harmoniously and have a much more peaceful, pleasurable, and better experience in the hobby. And I try and take that same motto into my work as well, and it's been going good so far. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do the podcast, and also because it seems that I like talking a lot. But also, I've been wanting to do a podcast forever, and it's already my fifth year into doing podcasting, and um, I, yeah, I've had some low moments, but you guys have kept me going, and I just love it. Hey, stop laughing, man. Um, yeah, guys, it's been an awesome time here, and I hope you guys are enjoying today's episode. Um, Tech One, bro, if I could ask you for a favor, I don't know if maybe you know some of these races that are trying out RC drifting for the first time. If you do know them, please could you link me up with them? I'd like to have a chat with them, try and get them on the show, just to see, to hear from them what the experience is with RC drifting, and that's over and above the new chassis that they're coming out. And yeah, and then we'd have a follow-up episode to this. I think that will be cool. And then sweet, man. Yeah. Maybe even if, yeah, and then we'll try, maybe even if we could uh, talk to one of the higher ups in Team Associated, whoever is part of that drift development team of theirs, um, you know, just to sort of get a few perspectives from them. I think it'll be really cool to hear directly from Team Associated to understand like why now, and just get their thoughts on RC drifting. Wow, that's very cool. King of Streets, not prep book. Very cool. Yeah, I've seen some of the drag racing. I was following one or two people. Very cool. Um, okay, so I think I've been at it for more than an hour. You want the engineer? Hey, bro, I don't mind. I don't mind. We don't need him to share his trade secrets. I just want to pick his brain a little bit and just understand uh, where they're coming from. And I think it's something that I would really appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much. Just point me in the direction, see if he's keen. If he's keen, I'll make contact. We'll have a quick chat. We'll put it on the show. It doesn't even need to be live. We'll pre-record it with his permission, of course. His or her, I don't know. And then we'll have him on the show. I think it'll be really cool for everybody to see, instead of us speculating about these things, you know we could get him on the show and listen to it right from the Associated's mouth. And it could put to rest some of the things some of the speculations or some of the questions we have, and understand it properly. I think that will be very cool. So, some parting points before we close up for today. I mean, I'd love to talk more. If you want me to stay on longer, I don't mind staying on. But some closing comments. Um, Ultimately, whether we like it or not, these two brands coming into the RC drifting fray of things is a good thing for RC drifting as a whole. And that is a fact, an undeniable fact that we cannot look past, overlook, or discredit. Whether we like it or not, whether you like Traxxas or not, whether you prefer Team Associated or not, whether you discount them or not, we cannot discount that them coming into the um, them coming into the RC drifting scene is going to create uh, a whole new wave of RC drifters. People who are brand loyal, people who didn't know what RC drifting was, didn't know that it existed, are going to know what RC drifting is about now. And I think that's one of the best things that could happen for us in RC drifting at the moment. A number of places we know tracks have closed down in the US. Here in my city, my own track has closed down sadly because I don't have anybody to drift with. I literally do not have anybody to drift with. So the venue that I've had is gone. It's a sad state. It's going to cost too much for me to repair alone, and sadly, the interest in my town, and I don't mean South Africa, I just mean in my town, the interest in it has dwindled to almost zero. So if I happen to find another venue, I'll be able to revive it. That's a separate topic altogether. We are talking Texas and Team Associated. Sorry about that, guys. So ultimately, again, like I said, it's a good thing for the RC Drifting Brotherhood that we have these two. Can I say giants? Would that be okay with the giants in the RC Drifting game that are coming to RC Drifting? It's an injection that we didn't need, that we didn't know we needed. And who knows, maybe them coming on board will actually fuel somebody or some organization into having like a world championship. And yes, I know that we have TDC world champs. And as much as it's a world champ and it's open to international drifters, we don't it hasn't attracted the kind of uh, vibe that we've seen, or the kind of drifters that we've seen in the RC Drift World Championships. Now, that's not to say that TDC is any less worthy, or it's bad or subpar. Not at all. I'm not discounting them at all. It's just when you think about world champs, TDC isn't exactly the first comp that you think about. We always are reminded about the RC Drift World Championship that happened in Yemen, and everybody from all over the world has gathered there. So, with that being said, maybe Traxxas and Team Associated will influence somebody new to come in and do a world championship. And I'm kind of looking at you, Super G, Joey, and Steve. Let's be honest, you guys have been throwing down some of the biggest comps in the world in the past year or two, maybe three. And you guys have a new facility with a massive track, and the potential to have a world championship there at Super G is prime. Oh my God, hey, Eamon, good old time. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know, the best for the guys that haven't been to Worlds, the best part of Worlds, and if you ask everybody who's ever been to Worlds, ask them which was the best part of Worlds. Every single drifter will tell you the best part of Worlds was drifting on the practice tracks. Try it for yourself. Ask them. They will tell you the best part of Worlds was drifting on the practice tracks. Tech One says SDC is opening up to internationals this year. This year is Worlds at Super G. Um, okay, so fun fact, Tech One, fun fact. Um, last year I was actually invited to come and compete in one of the Super G comps. A huge shout out to Steve. Thank you so much for that invite, bro. Um, yeah, he actually invited me to come and compete at the comp, and he said, hey, he'll hook me up with stuff, and yeah, and it was so good, man. And I really wish I could have made it for the comp, but unfortunately, finances didn't go my way, and I wasn't able to. Uh, yeah, because of that, I wasn't able to make it. But I still very, very much appreciate the invite, and perhaps one day I will make it there. Uh, IRCDF record. Okay, let's see. What is that all about? Let's see. Visit anyway. Sorry. Visit anyway. Hey man, this thing is the site is not. Dude, what? I don't know what link you sent me, bro. But anyway, I'll check it out from my phone because somehow my antivirus is blocking that site. So yeah, guys. Hey, you never know. Weirder things have happened. I might come out there to SDC. Well, let's see how it goes. Um, okay, back to the topic and my closing points. Um, just to reiterate, these two companies coming into RC drifting is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Yes, the chassis may or may not need a bit of work, but it's a starting point. It's their starting point. So let's not completely uh, and not no, not completely. That's the wrong word to use. Let's not bash them. Rather than bash these two companies, let's give them constructive criticism about what they can do to make the chassis better. Remember, it's like going into a restaurant, ordering some food, eating it, you hate it or you dislike it, and you don't say anything directly to the chef or the maitre d' or manager, whatever it is, but then you go online and you slate them. How do you expect them to take you seriously if you come at them harsh and negatively? How do you expect them to change what they need to when you are immediately demeaning them and insulting them? That's never going to work. So, what we need to do as a brotherhood here is rather than bash them, let's provide constructive criticism. Let's provide them with a few points to say, look, we as a drifting community, we as a drifting brotherhood, we we give you a shout out to coming on board to drifting finally. We appreciate you putting out your chassis. However, here's some of our criticisms about your chassis. Where you did A, we would rather you do B, and this is the reason why. If you are doing a chassis like this, here is what we would actually prefer looking for, and let's approach it in that manner. That way, these companies will see, okay, the community is actually taking a positive interest in what we are doing, and they are interested in our products, and more than interested in our products, they are keen to assist us to better our products. So remember, that's one of the reasons why these RC manufacturers also are still in the game, is because we've been providing feedback and positive feedback. So these companies, they will listen to us if we approach them in a positive manner. So let's, instead of bashing them, let's provide constructive criticisms. How about that? Let's try that for a change. Let's for once try a different route, as opposed to straight away going, this is terrible, it's not going to do well, it's not what is needed in the community, etc., etc. Let's avoid all of that and look at the positive side. So, guys, with that, thank you very much for joining in today's episode. It's been an absolute blast. I hope that you guys have also been enjoying this episode and have enjoyed this episode. I really appreciate everybody joining in the conversation and adding your comments and your opinions, and for helping me understand what they are doing as a whole. I'm much better. Uh, I have a clearer understanding, and I'm definitely a lot more convinced. I'd say I'm like 95.5%, 95.5. I definitely think it's a good thing. It's a positive. Again, like I said, for me, I won't necessarily buy it straight away, simply because I have other plans in mind, not because I'm against the chassis. I'm not against the chassis. I just won't want to get one now. And if anything, I'd get the AE, the DC10, I mean. But that's because I've been around more, and because you've been around more, you look for something with adjustability so that you can refine it to suit your driving style. Stefano says, take care and hope to see you again soon somewhere on the track. Absolutely, Stefano. I hope to see you on the track as well, my friend. You never know. Weirder things have happened. So, guys, with that, I shall take my leave, and I hope to see you again on the next episode of the B-Rock RC show. Thank you, Victor, for all your comments and your opinions. Really appreciate it. And to Jordan and Stefano and Tech One and let's see who else, and also Keegan Klein. Thank you so much for the stars, bud, and all my other people that came out to watch the episode and join in the conversation. You guys are awesome. You guys are the real MVPs. So take care, have fun. Remember, be open-minded, be understanding, encourage, don't discourage, and let's grow this hobby. So keep drifting alive, keep on drifting. Okay, wait, we got a few last comments here. Zach says, I think Traxxas is nice because most hobby crate RC stores carry Traxxas. Yes, was a good show. Talk to you soon. Alfredo, my man, I am a fan of you, bro. Thank you so much for joining in. I follow your drifting a lot, and I'm a fan. Thank you so much for joining into the episode. You guys are really cool. Take care, everyone. Catch you on the next episode of the B-Rocks RC Show, a live podcast for the drifters by a drifter. Peace.